Okay, so today we'll see how to represent Turing machine using transition diagram. Okay, what do they mean here? See, you are in state Q1. If you encounter 0 as the input symbol, it will be replaced by X. You move towards right direction and you change the state to Q2. So we can also write an equivalent transition table for this, because yesterday we have learned transition tables, right? So if you want, we can also write equivalent transition table for that. So transition table, what did I say right now? Will have transition states first. So you have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 and Q6, right? There are 6 states. And your Q1 is initial state and Q6 is your final state. Alright. And what will be there in the column? Tape symbols. So what are the various tape symbols that I have here? I have a 0. In tape we have 1. And you can see in tape we have X and Y also. And also blank. Right? So in columns we'll have tape symbols. Okay. Basically this is actually, this Turing machine is to accept strings of 0 power n, 1 power n. That is equal number of zeros followed by equal number of ones. How to design this we'll see tomorrow. Okay, we ourselves will design this for few problems. But today we'll see how to understand the representations, and also once we write this, how can we say that it accepts some string or does not accept some string. So you can see from Q1 how many transitions are there? Only 2 outgoing, right? On 0 and on blank. So I will have only 2 transitions for Q1. One is here and one is here. So what will be for 0? You can see 0 is replaced by 0 itself, isn't it? You are not making any changes to 0. So in the table, how you are going to write this? So, sorry, 0 is replaced by X. 0 is replaced by X. So it becomes X, correct? X. And then the movement is towards right, he has told. The movement is toward right. And you are going to which state? You are going to Q2. Okay. Similarly, from Q1 to on blank I have. So I'll write it here. Blank remains blank. You can see blank remains blank. I move towards right and I go to state called as Q6. Okay. So this is for Q1. And what about Q2? If I take Q2, there are 3 outgoing transitions, right? One is this, and one is this. So I have for 0, 1 and Y. So what is it for 0? You can see 0 remains 0. I move towards right and the state is still Q2. Okay. So next one is 1. So 1 remains, 1 is replaced by Y. I move towards left and I go to a state called as Q3. And then I have for Y. Y remains Y. You move towards right and the state is still Q2. Okay. The state is still Q2. So now let us next write for Q3. From Q3 you have transitions for X, Y and 0. 3 outgoing transitions. So Q3 has for 0. 0 remains 0. You move towards left and you change the state to Q4. You change the state to Q4. Now what about other thing? X. You can see here X remains X. You move towards right and you go to a state called as Q5. What about y? Y remains y. You make a left direction movement and you remain in the same state Q3. Okay, so you remain in the same state Q3. Now let us see for Q4. Okay, for Q4 you have two outgoing transition. One is for x and one is for 0. For 0, 0 remains 0. The direction is left and you remain in the state Q4. And what about x? X remains x. The direction is right and you are going to Q1. So we are done with the Q4. Now let us see what happens for Q5. For Q5 you have moments for B and Y, correct? So what about Y? Y remains Y. You move towards right and the state is still Q5. And if you have blank, blank remains blank. You move towards right to Q6. Okay. And what about Q6? There are no transitions for Q6, no outgoing transitions. So this is how we can, equate a transition diagram and a transition table. Okay. Now let us see if you are representing it using the transition diagram. Okay. How can I show the computation sequence? If I am representing using this diagram, so let us say, how do we show the computation when we use the transition diagram? So let us take a string 0011. I told that it is written for accepting equal number of zeros and equal number of ones. So let's take that and move ahead. Okay, let's take the same example and see whether it is accepted or not. So if I take it as 001, initially I can say that initially blank is there, then 0011 is there, then after that blank will be there. I can show the initial sequence like this. I can show the read and write head like this and the initial state is Q1. Now you see Q1 on 0. What is happening? So what is next state? If you want on arrow, you can write the triplet. Okay. So you can show it like this and on arrow you can show 0, X and R. Right? 0, X and R. So Q1 on 0, right? What will happen? 0 is replaced by X. 0 is replaced by X. Right? And then you move towards right. So read and write head move towards right. And which is the state I go to? I go to a state called as Q2. Next, C for Q2 on 0. Q2 on 0. Nothing is replaced. 0 remains 0 itself. I just move towards right and state is also not changed. So X011, nothing is changed in the string. I move towards right and the state also did not change. It's a loop. Now check for Q2 on 1 here. Q2 on 1, right? 1 is replaced by Y. So 0, X and first this one is replaced by Y. Correct? And then I make a move towards left. So I was at this one which is now Y. So I move towards left. And the change of state is for Q3. Correct? Next check for Q3 on X. You can see here Q3 on X will not change anything. X remains X itself. Right? So all that I do is move towards right to Q5. Correct? Move towards right to, just a minute, something went wrong here, isn't it? So 0, X, did I skip a symbol? Oh yeah, I wrote it wrong here, that's why. See, it was X0, not 0X, no? Just a minute. Okay, let's start again from here. So Q2 on 1, you can see Q2 on 1 is replaced by Y. 1 is replaced by y. You move towards left, so you come to this 0, and the state is Q3. The state is Q3. Next, Q3 on 0. So if we write it, if we want, you can write everywhere whatever is used. Okay. For example, Q3 on 0 means what? 0, 0, L, correct? 0, 0, L. So 0 is replaced as 0 itself. So nothing changes there. The string remains like this. Okay. The string remains like this. But what you do is you move towards left and you change the state to Q4. So now I come to this left, right? And the state becomes Q4. I was at this 0. So left is this X and the state becomes Q4. Next is Q4 on X. You can see here Q4 on X. X remains X itself. So no change in the string. I move towards right. So I have moved towards this 0. And the state I go to is Q1. The state I go to is Q1. So Q1 on 0 is 0 XR. So I replace 0 by X. Correct? I replace 0 by X. And right side movement and change the state to Q2. What about Q2 on Y? You can see Y remains Y, state also doesn't change, but you would move towards right side. So X, X, Y, 1, B, I move towards 1, right side. Now Q2 on 1, you can see 1 is replaced by Y. You move towards left and make a change to Q3, correct? So next what will I write? So we replaced this 1 by Y. So it becomes like this, right? 1 by Y. After replacing it by Y, you see here the movement is towards left and it is Q3. So movement is towards left and it is Q3 means what? I am here with Q3. Now Q3 on Y. Q3 on Y, 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 L. That means what? You are not going to change anything. So XX, YY won't change. But what are you doing here? You are moving towards left. Though the state is same, so you are moving towards left. So now I'll be here, correct? X. Next, Q3 on X, you can see X remains X. You move towards right and go to state Q5. So again, X remains X, so string doesn't change here. But I moved from this position to this position, but the state now is Q5, right? Now you see Q5 on Y. No state change, you move towards right direction. So next will be Q5 will come here. Okay. Again it's same, no? Q5 on Y, Q5 on Y. So you make no changes. You just move towards right side with the state Q5. So next I have Q5 on blank. You see Q5 on blank. Blank doesn't change. You move towards right and you reach Q6. Right? So this blank doesn't change. I move towards right. So I'll show another blank. It doesn't matter. So Q6. And for Q6, no transitions. So you will halt here. And this will be accepted because when you halted, right, you halted at accepting state. You halted at the accepting state. Okay. So this is how we show the entire computation sequence when we are using the transition diagram. All right. So this can be shown a little different. If you are comfortable with this, you go ahead. But this can be shown a little different if you are using the transition table instead of transition diagram. So let me just copy this transition table. And for the same 0, 0, 1, 1, okay, let us see how it looks like. I mean, the computations, how do they look like? We'll take first another easy example like 0, 1, 1, and we know that it should be rejected because it's not equal number of zeros followed by equal number of ones. And then we'll take 0, 0, 1, 1. So how do we show when we use the transition table? So initial state obviously is Q1. So I told the string we'll take is 0, 1, 1. This is my initial configuration. Okay. Now what about Q1 on 0? You see Q1 on 0. Q1 on 0, 0 is replaced by X. So this 0 is replaced by X. Then I am going to move towards right. So the next transition will come here and it will be Q2. So it becomes XQ2 and whatever is remaining after that 1, 1. Okay. Now what I have to check for Q2 on 1. If you see Q2 on 1, right, 1 is replaced by Y. So this will become Y1, these two. Okay. And you move towards left. So your transition will come again in the beginning. So this X will remain as it is. And the state will be Q3. So now you are at this position. Q3, X, Y and 1. Next, Q3 on X. So Q3 on X, this one, right? So X remains X. You move towards right with Q5. So write the remaining as it is. Next, Q5 on Y. So Q5 on Y is this, right? So keep Y as it is. You move towards right with Q5. So X, Y, Q5, you move towards right. Q5 and 1. Correct? Now, Q5 on 1, there is no transition. Isn't it? So you halted because there is no transition. So you can write it like that. Since Q5 on 1 is not defined, M halts. Right? So it is not accepted. So it is not accepted. You can also mention when it halted, it didn't halt in any acceptance state. So it is not accepted. Okay. So one example. Let us take one more example before we end the class today. We'll take it for accepting. Okay. We'll take it for accepting. We'll take for 0, 0, 1, 1 itself, slightly longer one. So my initial computation is, initial stage is Q1, 0, 0 and 1, 1. Okay. So Q1 on 0, so replace 0 by X. Move towards right. So here the new state is Q2, 0, 1. Q2 on 0. So if you take Q2 on 0, you can see 0 remains 0. You just move right toward and Q2 itself is continued. So it will be X0, Q2, 1. Okay. Next Q2 on 1. Q2 on 1. So this is X, right? And Q2 will move towards left, you can see, and it will become Q3. So it will be Q3, 0. But this symbol 1 is replaced by Y. So it will become Y and 1. Now let us take Q3 on 0. So Q3 on 0, again you can see it comes to left, right? And it becomes Q4. 0 is not changed at all. So it comes to left and becomes Q4. So Q4, X, 0, Y and 1. Okay. Next take Q4 on X. So you can see for Q4 on X, again X doesn't change. You move towards right and state becomes Q1. So I move towards right and the state became Q1, right? So this is the remaining one. Next Q1 on 0. We have already done here, isn't it? So Q1 on 0 was replace 0 by X. Move towards right with Q2. So this one. Next Q2 on Y. Correct? Q2 on Y. So if you see Q2 on Y, Y will remain Y. Q2 will move towards right. So X, X, and Q2 will move towards the right of Y. Okay, will move towards the right of Y. Next Q2 on 1. So you can see Q2 on 1. 1 is replaced by as a Y. So this 1 will become Y, and I move towards left with Q3. From here I move towards left. So it will become XX Q3 YY. Because I replace this 1 as Y. Next is Q3 on Y. If you see Q3 on Y here, it just move towards left. The state also doesn't change. So move towards left from current place. So it will move here. So X, Q3, X and Y and Y. Okay. Now Q3 on X. See here, Q3 on X. You don't change X. You just make it as Q5 and move towards right. So move towards right is here. X, X, Q5, Y, Y. Q5 on Y. Again, no state change. Y also doesn't change. You just move towards right. So X, X. So move towards right. So Y, Q5, Y. So we just did that. Q5Y means just move towards right. Now nothing is there in front of Q5, so we'll have to take it as a blank. Okay, we'll have to take it as a blank. In the tape, before the input and after the input, blanks are there. So next Q5 on blank. You can see you're not changing blank, you are moving towards right and you are reaching Q6. So I have come like this, XX, YY, blank remained unchanged and I reached to Q6. Now you have reached Q6, isn't it? So since you have reached Q6, after this no transition is there. After this blanks will be there, no transition is there for Q6. So what will you say? I'll accept this string 0011 because halting happens at Q6 and this is a final state. This is a final state. So I am just moving towards the chat section. Can you tell me whether you have understood, or if something is not being understood, I want you to tell me what is not understood so that I can repeat it. Or else if you have understood it, then you can start marking your attendance. Any doubts are there? No. Okay, I'll be giving you